if we think we're going to be able to do the same thing at 25, 35, 45, 55, then you're wrong. You know, you got to start to realize that you need to be planning for your future. And your future as a young chef is that you need to be able to make sure that you're identifying that person that's going to replace you. And it's a generational thought process. And as many times, I mean, training is such an important part of our of what we do, and making sure that there's always somebody. You know, the only way for somebody to move up is if they have somebody to replace them.
Right.
So you continue to train the person next to you, so
to take a job.
To take a job. Yeah. Right? Because the only way that you're going to have an opportunity is like if you're ready, and if being ready means that there's somebody ready to do what you're doing, and you know, and you get ready to do something else. I mean, it's really a forward-thinking process, and you have to make sure that when it happened to me, I wasn't really prepared because I was totally distracted and immersed in opening our restaurant in New York City per se, and that was such a project, a 3.5-year project, and it was such a thorough and complete idea that and we executed it, I think, really, really well, which has never been done before. But we executed our restaurant per se. But the one person I hadn't planned for was myself. Even though, and maybe it was subconsciously, I have no idea, because I always knew, you know, some of my guests would say, you know, Thomas, you know, they would say, what do you do? You know, what's your goal? I said, well, someday I'll leave the restaurant. They said, no, you can work 3 days a week, or 4 days a week. You can't do that. I mean, either you're
so you put yourself on the job, did you?
I put myself on the job without having plans for it. And I still struggle with it. Honestly, I still struggle with it. I mean, I'm in the kitchen all the, you know, most of my life. I'm still in the kitchen. I don't do what I used to do, of course, but I can't do what I used to do, and it's okay.
Physically, I mean, it's demanding being in a kitchen. I mean, it's
physically I can't do it. So you see, and if you look at the past generations of chefs and the demise of those great chefs of the eras gone by, it's not because they weren't good at what they did. They got too old, and
they didn't know how to stop.
It was, you know, ego or whatever. I'm not really sure, but they just got too old to do it, physically too old to do it. And those that they trained became better than them.
Interesting. Well, you've trained a lot of great chefs have worked in your restaurants.
And the goal is to make them better, right? I mean, one of the things that we really work on is hiring. And you know, I'm not sure how many of you are responsible for hiring staff, whether dining room, kitchen, wherever. But it's really important. It's a very important thing. I think sometimes we take it for granted. You know, we need somebody, so hire somebody, we put somebody on the spot, but you know, because we need that. And hiring is probably the most, well, certainly part of one of the, I don't know, explain one of the three most important things that we can do. We really have to make sure that you're hiring the right person, and that person really believes that he can do the job, right? He or she. So, you know, that process for us is having them in our restaurant. It's not just about watching what they do, it's about them watching what us do, what we do, so they can, you know, really, really honestly say, you know, I think I can do what you're asking me to do, chef. And so once you do that, and everybody feels good about the hiring, then you're committed to that person 100%, right? And it's not like you're 75% committed to the person, it's like you're 100% committed to the person. Which means that the next phase is what? It's training. Now, when I was a young cook, and maybe you all have the same experience, you had 2 weeks, right? Does that sound right? Maybe 3 weeks of training for you to do a job. And then the person would leave. It's like, okay, you train. And I thought that was always kind of bizarre. I mean, I was pretty good as a cook, so I, you know, most of the time got it, but you still struggle with it because, you know, 2 weeks or 3 weeks is a job, especially if you're just going into that restaurant. It's hard. I mean, the first week you're just trying to figure out where everything is. The second week you're trying to figure out who everybody is. So it's like it's really difficult to really focus on your job, what your job definition is, and what skill levels you have to have. And I always equate it to children. You know, I mean, some of you have children. All of you were children, so you know, you all had training wheels on your bicycle when you were a kid, right? I had training wheels on my bicycle. You know, a child, when you're teaching them how to swim, but you know, the parents always put those floaties on their arms, and those kids, they can hardly swim because they got all these air tubes around them. And you don't say to that kid, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna take the training wheels off, or I'm gonna take the floaties off. If you don't know how to ride that bicycle, if you crash into the wall and you break your neck, that's your fault. You know, or
Sink or swim,
yeah,
right?
you know, if you fall to the bottom and drown, well, hey, you know, I gave you 2 weeks. It's like, you know, you can't do that. I mean, you know, the kid may take, you know, he may learn it in 2 weeks, it may be exceptional, but it may take him 2 months. Who knows how long it takes somebody to learn how to do something. So if you're hiring somebody and you're committed to them, then you have to be committed to the training process. Because if you're not committed to the training process, then you're not fulfilling your responsibility to that person. And sometimes it's really about the attitude of the person. And you know, I've had guys on the line with me, and they'll struggle for months. I mean, months, literally months. And they'll do a good job. They're not getting it. They're not really getting the whole thing. And you'll say to me at the end of the night, you know, Walter, you know, you had a tough night tonight. What do you think, Chef? Come back tomorrow and I'm going to get it. And you go, okay, believe them because their attitude. Believe in themselves, you know, they really believe it. And then one day, you know, whatever, it's like a light switch. And they just get it. And then they become such an important part of the restaurant because they've gone through that phase of training. You've gone through that phase of supporting them through that training. And they have such an understanding of what it's like to do what they're supposed to do. And they're able then to translate that and work with others. So if you've hired the right person, and you've trained them for the right amount of time, and they actually get it, and then they become part of your team, then the third thing that's really important is to mentor them. We have to continue to mentor our staff. Mentoring is not just about your profession. Mentoring is, you know, it's about life. It's important in life. And if you do those three things right, what happens? Do you have any idea what happens? Okay, I'll tell you. That person becomes better than you, right? Because if he's not better than you really haven't done a very good job at it. So that's really the goal for me, is to make sure that we're hiring them, we're training them, we're mentoring them, and at the end of the day, they're going to be better than I am. And I know that a lot of chefs, you know, kind of struggle with that. You know, how can my staff be better than I am? I'm a great chef. Oh, I mean, it's part of what we should be doing. It's part of the responsibility of being a leader in whatever you're doing. I mean, you know, we have this profession that's kind of carved out, but our profession is akin to any profession, right? I mean, if we rise through our profession, we become leaders, then what are we doing? What are we supposed to do? What's our responsibility? It's not certainly about us. It can't be about us. It has to be about the next generation, the next generation, and the next generation. So I go into my restaurants today, and I'm with Timothy or Eli or Jonathan or Corey or David Reed, and these guys who are coming up. I'm watching the work they're doing, and I'm just like, it's just amazed. I'm just so gratified that the quality of their execution and the level of their thoughtfulness is far beyond what I was at their age. And I have to remember that they're in that position because I gave them this opportunity. So there's a sense of gratification in what I'm doing that replaced the gratification I got when I was cooking. I hope that makes sense.